Which leads us to the third question of change. Is okay, you know what you want to change, and you know what you want to change to. So how are you going to cause that change? What strategy are you going to apply? Right? Are you looking for a quick hit? Or are you looking for something more stable? How many people are you going to get involved? What type of people do you have? What type, what kind of leadership strategies are you biased to? Right? And what about your core people leaders? What are they biased to? These are all questions that have to be answered. The change paradox. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been comfortable with the word change, mainly because change is just one of two powerful life forces that drive our daily behavior, the other being stability. We seek change and we seek stability every day. Right? We want stimulation in our jobs, but we also want routine. In the beginning of this week, you were all very excited about coming to New Orleans. Probably by sometime tonight, maybe by tomorrow, you're going to be thinking, man, I'd like to get home. Yeah, I want to, I want to be able to, sit in my chair and relax and be with my family. And that's, I want some stability. Right? That in itself is what life is all about. The problem is, with a lot of change programs, is that they just focus over here. And they disregard this. And so what we've learned is to use a process called continuity. Continuity provides a range of choices between these two powerful life forces. Now, no executive should be faced with a binary choice. It's like asking you, are you just going to be, pursue the profit motive? Or are you just going to, pursue human development in your firm? Well, the fact is you need both to accomplish the goal. Right? And it's the same thing in change. You need change and you need stability. Right? The ability to fuse two apparent polar opposites, which is managing a paradox, that's the key. That's one of the keys to leading change effectively, is to bring these two polar opposites together to form one coherent whole. Now, the Latin root of continuity means to hold together. The Latin root of continue means to hold together. And the executive who leads change, what I call the social architect, right, they identify the values and the principles that hold that company together. They identify those values and principles because that is the bedrock formation. Those things don't change, they shouldn't change. That provides the stable foundation for people as they go through this change. But so what the leader does, what the social architect does, is that they connect the present with the past. Is that they know where the company has been, they know where it is today, and they know how it got there. Now, the old approach to change of breaking the organization down to build it back up again is a 20th century formula that was expensive in both financial capital and human capital. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Ken Burns and his documentaries like Baseball and Civil War. Well, his recent release was on the national parks. And this is a clip from the national parks. And there's two park rangers talking about this concept of continuity.
They are islands of hope. The parks are always where I can go home again. I go back to my hometown. There's a Safeway where I used to play with Sylvia Gonzalez. They have taken and turned my old school into a junk shop, but the parks don't do that. So these are places we can always go home, and paradoxically, that we can always see into the future and hope for the better things.
When we look at parks and we look at the United States and we examine the whole idea of democracy, I think that the park experience is an exploration of the idea of freedom. Where do I come from? Where am I going? How did I get here? How did we as a people get here? I think that when people go to a national park, they get a sense, a compass to history.
Now, when your people walk through the door, or when they log on as a telecommuter, do they know where your company has been? Do they know where it is right now? Right? Do they know where it's going? They probably have somewhat of an idea of where it's going, but because they may not know where it's been, they're going to have trouble connecting that. Right? They need to know what that foundation is. Now, each year I take my kids to a national park, and we're fortunate that in Colorado there are 10 national parks. And this year we're actually going to D.C. To see the monuments. And you may not be familiar with this, but all the monuments are part of the Park Service. And I bring them to the parks because I want them to know what this country is about, what the foundation of this country is. And it's just like what the park ranger said. When you go to a park, you really understand about, you get a much better understanding where this country is. And part of my job as a parent is to raise kids to be good citizens of this country. Right? So they need to know where point A is, because they're going to determine what kind of citizens that they want to be. But by going to the parks, they're going to be able to do that. But it's the same thing in any type of organism, any type of organization. If your people don't know where the company has been, right, and what the values are that held the company together, that helped build the company and held it together during rough times, they're going to have a difficult time associating that with where they want to take the company to.